Every step, every delay, every decision, you're carrying something. But what if it's time to let go? What if purpose isn't found, but formed? With every step you take forward.
السلام عليكم يا دكتور مهان.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
ما شاء الله. تشيخت. You look like a sheikh tonight.
Astaghfirullah.
You have a serious, scholarly vibe you're giving off tonight, mashallah.
Oh, well, it's all appearances. May God forgive me. May God forgive us.
No, may God make it true. May God make it true, inshallah. Yes.
Inshallah. Before we start, and we're not going to go back, but in our after discussion, around the text on this, that we offered the trust to the mountains, and then the discussion we had on it, that almost we're in this theater of trial. It's all a trial, whether you have momentary success or failure, but ultimately, there's always going to be its abode of struggle. And I was reminded of Star Trek. In Star Trek, when you're being promoted, you're a Trekkie, right?
Oh yeah. The movies or the old series? Which
Everything.
one are we talking?
I've watched the old series, but I'm mostly into the next generation. But I've seen the movies, and so when you're being promoted to command, they put you through this test, and the test is you're not. It's designed so you're going to fail it. There's no winning.
Oh, this is the Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah, that was one of them. But it's been in multiple episodes.
Yeah.
And the whole point of that is to see how the person who's being tested will respond to extreme, circumstances. And so that was a nice comparison. I don't know if it's a nice comparison, but I thought it really helped me get at what I was trying to, what the verses were saying to me about this, our existence in this world.
Yes, and in Star Wars as well, there's the reference to the Jedi trials that one is not deemed a full Jedi Knight until one has gone through the Jedi trials. We don't know exactly what those trials were, but even the way they refer to it suggests that it's difficult and demanding and not exactly a test. It's more of a holistic assessment of your readiness to serve in this way. And I think, you're right. The Quran will see everything, right? Everything ultimately is a test. And this is one thing that Dr. Farial also brought up, when she said, when this one hadith about how amazing is the believer, that if wealth comes, it's a test, if that everything is from God. So the believer will give thanks for abundance. The believer will give thanks for the absence of abundance. The believer will give thanks in every situation, and how amazing a person of real belief can be, because everything then becomes an occasion for gratitude. And so there are scenarios unfolding on the planet and scenarios that we can look back to in history that make us astonished that anyone living through that could give thanks. And yet we see it happening before our very eyes. It's a deeply touching and deeply inspiring thing to see people in situations of tremendous deprivation and hardship still lining up for prayer and still bowing down in gratitude to the Lord of the worlds, right? It's profound to see that happening, and deeply instructive to those of us who have comparatively easy lives, and yet sometimes we have more difficulty having hearts that are brimming over with gratitude than those who are living in such extreme extreme contexts. But be that as it may, I think that the Star Trek reference and the Star Wars reference are both appropriate here. So
and we who have easier lives, we forget that we're actually being tested, but in another way, that it's all temporary. It's just a different kind of test, and we shouldn't be deluded by the comforts.
That's right.
If that's
if we have access to resources, then there's a profound responsibility that comes with that. Yeah, absolutely. You're right. It's a different kind of test.
The mission and vision of the American Islamic College, to me, pretty much now synonymous with the work. I believe in the transformative power of education, and not just education that is informative, but in education that is transformative, education that really changes how we live. But I think that the Muslims of America need a place that they can come as a Muslim space. This is their space. It belongs to them.
Okay, so and just again, I correct myself again. I do this every night, it seems, but correcting myself that the American Islamic College is not for them. It's for you, and it's for all of us. And I want I want this dream to grow and to become a collective dream. I want this dream of a great, fully accredited, independent, non-denominational, inclusive American Muslim university to be a dream and a vision that benefits from the vision and the insights of everyone here, and that means it's something that's going to continue to grow and to change and to develop and to serve, and God knows the world is changing, and so what we need from
this is Surah Saba.
Surah Saba, Naam.
Number 34.
And then we are now transitioning from a Medinan surah, a later surah, back to the Meccan period, and so we'll have a string now of Meccan surahs that are going to be as the Meccan surahs are, almost one packed with spiritual jewels and spiritual teachings, not so much political or societal teachings, but also just dripping with an imminent sense of the apocalypse, or what we call the hour, right? What the Quran calls the hour, as-sa'a. And so this is something right in the third ayah of this surah. We have the unbelievers, that again, the ingrates. These are not unbelievers. These are ingrates and rejectors. They say that never will the hour come to us, meaning it's never going to happen. This judgment day is just never going to happen, but most surely by my Lord it will come upon you, by him who knows the unseen, from whom is not hidden the least little atom that is in the heavens or on the earth, nor is there anything less than that or greater, but is in the clear record. Sorry, my phone just went off, so I'm not sure what's happening there. Okay, sorry for that little background. I don't know okay, but what's there is this, this sense that like Judgment Day, it's a real thing, and this is one of the core beliefs of Islam, and it is referred to again and again and again in these early Meccan surahs. And one thing I remember reading from Fazlur Rahman's Major Themes of the Quran is that he observed that in the Quran there's almost an inverse of the natural order when the hour comes. That the oceans will boil and the mountains will be laid low, and there's this almost this undoing of of nature in the anticipated final hour before Judgment Day, and it's something that the prophet, upon him be peace, also talked a lot about, right? And he, even he had dreams about it, and he spoke to his companions about the signs of the coming of the hour. And so even now, if we went online, there's always, maybe in every age there is a buzz, but there certainly is a buzz right now in the global community about whether the signs of the coming of the hour are being fulfilled before our very eyes. And this is an interesting feature of the Meccan surahs, is that it almost feels, when you're reading these Meccan surahs, like it's about to come, like it's going to come like as a surprise to everyone. And and not even the prophet was given knowledge about when the hour would come. That knowledge resides only with God.
Right. And those of us who die, the hour is upon us.
That's right.
Immediately. So that could be, the hour could be tonight.
Yes.
And it will be tonight for many. So, at the end, just to continue this theme, maybe we'll bounce around a bit, because I want to go back to verses 1 and 2, and then there's a few others in the surah. But just to connect to this theme of the hour, there's an interesting scene that transpires towards the latter end of the surah, starting verse 32, that the oppressors will say to those who had been, oppressed, to alladhina stud'ifu. So the arrogant ones, or those who were the oppressors, will to say to those who were oppressed, was it we who prevented you from following the right guidance after it had reached you? Like, who's to blame here? Because the oppressed will say, well, we were oppressed, and so we shouldn't be as accountable, perhaps, as those who are in power. And so the oppressors will say, no, you yourselves were sinners. And the oppressed will say to them, no, it was your scheming, night and day, ordering us to disbelieve in God and set up rivals to him. So they kind of, blame each other.
Yeah, there's a blame game happening.
Yes. And when they see the punishment, they will fall silent with regret. And we should put iron collars on the disbelievers' necks, or the ingrates, necks. Why should they be rewarded for anything other than what they have done? And so, whether you're rich or poor, right, oppressed or being oppressed, you each have agency and moral responsibility. You don't surrender it. And so, this whole, just the idea that victimhood becomes an identity, and it absolves all moral responsibility for actions, is something that the Quran categorically, as far as I see it, rejects. That no, even if you're a victim, even if you're oppressed, you have moral agency, and you have the choice to behave upright or to surrender that and blame it on someone else. But that won't really work. And so everyone has to be mindful of their own acts. I go back to be the better of the two sons of Adam. Yeah.
Right, who was about to be killed, and he knew it.
He said, no, I won't reciprocate. And then the next verse is, never have we sent a warner to a community without those among them who were corrupted by wealth.
Yeah.
Saying, we do not believe in the message you have been sent with. And so it's the if you think of class warfare, it's the financial elite that always reject the prophetic voice. They don't want the change. They don't want the critique. They don't want to adjust the structures and systems of oppression that they have built up, whereby they're extracting wealth for their own benefit. They don't want that. And part of what you can see the prophet is doing is he's here to restructure the social order. towards a more just order. It's not just a dogma. It's not just a creed, but it's rather something so much greater, like at least what we see with the Prophet Muhammad here.
Yeah, and we know that the wealthy of Mecca at that time, they had this whole system set up that was based on the idolatrous pilgrimage to Mecca. This whole system that was set up that allowed them to make these tribal alliances so that they could run caravans north and south through the desert. And when he was preaching monotheism, then that really threatened their whole economic mechanism. That really threatened their whole wealth machine, let's say. And so there were very worldly reasons why they were trying to discredit him and oppose him and prevent his movement from succeeding, because they knew it would dismantle a societal mechanism that they had built that was helping them to amass wealth and prominence and honor within their world.
Yeah. And then and then this continues. So those who have who have been corrupted by wealth, they are the first to reject. And then what they say, this is verse 35, they would say, we have greater wealth and more children. And remember, in a tribal society, your clan, the strength of your clan was by numbers. And so this is all power and wealth. We have greater wealth and more children than you, meaning more power than you, and we shall not be punished. And the prophet is being told to say in the next verse, my Lord gives in abundance to whoever he will, and sparingly to whoever he will. The most people do not understand. Neither wealth nor children will bring you nearer to us. But those who believe and do good deeds will have multiple rewards for what they have done, and we will live safely and will live safely in the lofty dwellings of paradise. Whereas those who work against our messages, against our signs, to frustrate them, seeking to undermine them, they will be summoned to punishment. And this is again repeated, my Lord gives in abundance to whichever of his servants he will, and sparingly to whichever he will. He will replace whatever you give in alms. He is the best of providers. And I feel, two things real quick. Turn it back over to you. The verse 28, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا كَافَةً لِلنَّاسِ بَشِيرًا وَنَذِيرًا, that we have not sent thee but as a universal messenger.
Yeah,
we have not sent you prophet only. We have sent you prophet only to bring good news and warning to all people.
Yeah.
Kafatan linnas. And there it's all people. We often think of all races and genders and nationalities and languages, but I feel also here all classes, whether you're wealthy or you're poor. For one, the message is to spend and be generous and be humble, and for the others is to be patient and not lose your moral compass. One person asked a question, and maybe there's an answer to this here. The question is, would you say we are meant to have the ability to achieve everything, that is healing, abundance, worldly gain? And is that accessible for all? And if we don't receive it, is it because of our own fault that we block it? And just my sense of that is no, because the verses are very clear. God gives, in abundance to whom he will, and he takes from whom he wills. And this is a different kind of a trial. It's not that you achieved it because you did something to deserve it, and you were not given it because you're being already punished for it. No. That's in the ذَلِكَ يَوْمُ التَّغَابُنِ. We'll see later on that the day of victory and loss is not here, but it's in the hereafter. In this world, these are all different modes of trials. So I feel this coming out pretty strongly in this surah.
Yeah, so there isn't a kind of as I guess sometimes it's called some of the mega churches where they have the prosperity gospel,
Right.
the idea
Yes.
that God wants you to be wealthy, God wants you to drive that nice car, God wants you, that I don't want to condemn that or judge that, but that's clearly not what the Quran seems to be saying. The Quran is that this is entirely there's what we call what the mystics sometimes call the mystery of God's measuring out. That God will gives resources to some and will give the absence of resources to another, and that there's just a really complex theater of testing, and sometimes it's just different seasons of our own lives. Sometimes our own lives we can be very deprived, or we can be very wealthy. We can go from wealth to poverty, and from abundance to need, and these are all different seasons of the human experience. And the Quran seems to promise that everyone is going to have a taste of this, and a taste of it. And we read that on a previous evening. I can't remember which one, but the idea that God is going to test you with something of a taste of poverty, and a taste of death, and a taste of the loss of the fruits of your labors. And so this is taken for granted that this is going to happen, and it's not punishment. It doesn't mean it's because this is in fact, as we've reflected on previous nights too, when we ask to be among those whom God blesses, we have to include people like Job, Ayub. We have to include people like Yusuf, people who suffered greatly. And so to be among those whom God blesses, to be among the beloveds of Allah, means that we have to be ready for tests. And the Quran says it very plainly. You think you'll say you believe and you won't be tested. It's it's a little bit counterintuitive. The prosperity gospel is more kind of intuitive, that like if I really love God, then I'm going to get rich and I'm going to have a good life. But as a sign of God's blessing. But the Quran is not pushing that message.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I see that.
Yeah.
No. I concur. I think that it could be that God has blessed you, and we pray for that He gives you in this world and the next. But there's no you don't know that's the case, because what He gives you is a source of trial for you.
Right. There are a couple of ayat here, like number 38, that seem to be in contradistinction to. Remember the verse that we read in Al-Ahzab about those who strive in us, or those who strive in our ways, that we will make subul, we'll make pathways for them. But we have a couple references here to those who are striving against our signs, right? Like in 38, those who strive against our signs in order to frustrate them, they will be given over into punishment. There's a kind of almost like we were talking about with regard to the complex nature of the reality and the oppositionality that we find in the world. There are those who are striving for God and for all that is good and true and life-giving. And there are people who are equally committed to the opposite, right? And that's just part of the Quranic, canvas, right? It's that these people are out there and they're actively working to frustrate the signs of God, to turn the signs of God into a lie, to misrepresent them, and to maliciously try to see them not succeed. And so this is part of that complex canvas with intense light and intense darkness that are, at least for now, working against each other and providing an incredible context that requires each of us to make choices.
Yeah. We got a follow-up question.
Great.
When we were talking about the oppressed, and the question is that those who are oppressed, is it their fault that they didn't stand up for themselves? And so I'll just, the way I'm reading it is that's not the point. They should stand up for themselves, but in doing so, they shouldn't engage in egregious violations of God's law, or their moral conduct shouldn't be compromised, or in their own lives they live with a lack of virtue because they say, well, we've got it too hard, and so it's not our fault, and so we can make all kinds of exemptions for ourselves because they're to blame. So that's how I'm reading it. That no, certainly when you're oppressed, each oppressed person knows their own status, and at times there might be extenuating circumstances, but it doesn't absolve them of the need to still remain morally upright, even in that condition. So that's I hope that makes it a little bit more clear.
No, I think that's really well said. And but of course, some people say that for oppressed people, the only thing that they're allowed to do, because the corporate media is against them, and that the forces of the world, of the dunya, can be against them, and so the only thing that they're allowed to do is just die, right? And the Quran doesn't say that, right? So the Quran says that to those against whom war has been made, that permission is given, to fight, to rise up in resistance of that. And so those who have been driven out of their homes and have been attacked unjustly, and so but you're right, that even in that situation, it's still governed by the laws, the laws of restraint and moderation and
and so if that resistance requires you to take innocent life, I think it must give a little bit of give pause. That at this point, what is my moral agency here?
That's right.
And ultimately, never forget that there is a God on the throne who is the governor, and the ultimate end of this is in his hands, and to him is the return. And so and then there will be accountability. And so that's the point, is that instead of focusing on, well, I can take all of these exemptions and violate what otherwise are sacred sort of moral conduct because I'm oppressed, I think that the Quran is saying, be very careful. Be very careful with that.
I think there was an interesting saying of, was it Omar the Mukhtar? He was the rebel against the Italians in Libya, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yes. And he was insisting that they treat the Italian prisoners of war, treat them with dignity and treat them appropriately. And some of his own fighters complained.
In a city shaped by water and wind, answers arrive like waves, quiet at first, then undeniable. When one finds you, move with it, stay steady, and let it carry you farther than you planned.